So today we're going to dig into something really fascinating. We're talking about a device that supposedly operates in a multidimensional quantum space. It's called the Leela Quantum Bloc. And get this, a research institute was hired to test its pretty extraordinary claims. We're just going to walk through their report, see exactly what they were trying to prove, and, well, what they ended up showing us.
So this is it. This is the object at the very heart of the study, the Leela Quantum Bloc. You know, it looks simple enough, pretty elegant design, but the claims made about what this thing can do, well, they're anything but simple.
And the claims are really something else. I mean, in the research paper, the client, Leela Quantum Tech, describes it just like this. 50 levels, a multidimensional quantum space. We're talking about some huge ideas here. And it's these grand claims that really set the stage for the scientific test that was supposed to follow.
And that, of course, brings us to the big question, right? If you're going to make claims this huge, you'd expect to see some proof. So how on earth did a research institute try to measure the effects of a multidimensional quantum space?
All right, so let's get into it. Before we can even understand the test, we need to get a handle on what the client says this device actually is. And the report gives us a very specific description.
Okay, so they call it a quantum space generator. The whole idea, at least as the client describes it in the document, is that it creates this special field. This field is supposed to do two main things. One, neutralize what they call negative frequencies, and two, charge any object you put inside it with quantum energy. And the list of what it can supposedly do, it's a long one. The report says the client believes it can harmonize energy fields in a home, copy frequencies between objects in just 1 minute, make your food and water better, cleanse your aura, and even have a direct positive effect on your body's cells.
Now, okay, you have all these big, kind of broad claims, but for a real study, you need to focus on something specific, something you can actually test. And that's what the researchers did. They narrowed their focus to one very particular claim.
The report itself, which is called Project P72 1.0, lays it out super clearly. It was designed specifically to test if the quantum block could neutralize the effects of heavy metals that the report says were found in new snow from what it calls chemtrails.
Now, this is a really important point. They weren't trying to chemically change the snow or anything like that. Nope, the focus was all on what they call bioenergetics. The real question they were asking was, could the block take the negative energetic effects of this snow on a person and flip them into positive ones? So you might be wondering, how in the world do you measure energetic effects? This isn't like taking your blood pressure or running a lab test on a chemical. The report goes into detail on a very specific method used by the institute that ran the study.
The method they used is called BESA, which is short for BioEnergetic System Analysis. According to the document, this is a system used by the IFV-BSA Institute, and it measures what they call the energetic state of a person's body by testing specific meridian points on your fingers and toes.
And this image, which is straight from the report, shows you exactly how they read the results. The colors are everything here. Blue means a degenerative state, which they define as an energy deficiency. Green is the goal, that's a balanced state, and yellow indicates an inflammatory range, or basically an energy surplus. And if you want to get into the numbers, they break it down like this. Any reading below 2.0 is degenerative. The goal, the sweet spot they call in regulation, is right there in the middle between 2.0 and 2.79, and anything over 2.8 gets flagged as inflammatory. This is the system they use to put a number on the body's energetic state.
Okay, so we've got the device, we've got the hypothesis, and we know how they're going to measure it. So what did the actual experiment look like? Well, it was a very structured three-part test.
The report is super specific about this part. This whole project, this test with the snow, was done on just one single person. The document says it was all under lab conditions, so they could precisely measure this one person's bioenergetic reaction at every single stage.
And the whole thing was broken down into 3 clear steps. First up, a BESA basic test. This was to get a baseline, to see the person's normal energy state. Then, a BESA before test, where they measured that person's energy while they were exposed to the snow. And finally, the BESA after test, measuring their energy with that same snow, but after it had been put inside the quantum block.
So the report lays out this whole awesome 3-part experiment. It really builds the suspense, but then it only gives us the result for step 1.
That's right. The only data we actually get to see in this document is from that very first measurement, the BESA basic test. This is the control group, the before picture of the test subject's energy before any snow even entered the room.
And here's what they found. The baseline test showed the subject's energy was split right down the middle. 50% of their readings were in that blue degenerative range, meaning an energy deficiency. The other 50% were in the green, balanced range. And what's interesting is that absolutely nothing was in that inflammatory or yellow zone.
And if you're wondering where that 50-50 number comes from, well, here it is. This is the actual chart pulled right from the source document. You can see the individual measurements for different meridians like the kidney, liver, and heart, and you can see some bars are in the blue zone and some are in the green. This is the raw data that gives us that perfect 50-50 split.
Okay, so let's just do a quick recap. We've seen the device, we've heard the wild claims, we know the very specific thing they wanted to test, how they were going to test it, and now we have the starting numbers. We have the before picture, which just sets the stage for the big reveal.
And remember, the whole point of this setup was the comparison. Step 2 was supposed to show us what the snow did to this baseline, and Step 3 was the big one. Could the quantum block fix it? Could it bring the energy back to this starting point, or maybe even better? The whole experiment is built on that comparison. So, what happened? Did the person's energy tank when they were exposed to the snow? And the most important question of all, did the quantum block actually work? Did it harmonize those supposed negative effects? This is where the report we have ends. It presents the whole setup, the baseline, and then it just stops. Right before the big reveal, leaving us with the biggest question of all completely unanswered.